guys. So the next video I'm going to do is all about decimals. At school we've moved on to fractions and we will be moving on to decimals. However, we have done the 4 operations now, so addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So this is using those 4 operations with decimals. So I've got 4 different calculations here. 1 which is add, 2 which is take away, 3 which is multiply and 4 which is divide. I'm going to go through how you would calculate the answers to these questions, and then we're going to have a go at some trickier ones before you have your turn and see what you can do. So this really, you need your knowledge of the 4 operations for this and how to set out your calculations correctly. Obviously, squared paper helps if you've got squared paper. So I'm just going to pop that to one side and write down question number 1. So question number 1 is 7,721.36 add 8,524.9. Okay, so that's our sum. Okay, so setting it out, we have to be careful with decimals because decimals can have different decimal places. So in this particular sum, the first number has got 2 decimal places, which is 2 numbers after the decimal point. The best thing to think of this is as money. That's what I always say because it just helps. So if we think about this number, 7,721, as pounds, and then this is the pence. So it's like 36p, so 36 parts of a pound. And then here we've got 8,524.9. This one has got 1 decimal place. This is where we need to be careful with our setting out. So first of all, we need to make sure that we use the biggest number. Obviously with add, it doesn't really matter, but it just gets us into that habit ready for when we do subtraction. So we're going to go with this number first. And we're going to pop this number underneath, making sure that we line the decimals up. Okay, pop the symbol, and then you can put in your lines. Okay, so this space here is empty, and we call that a placeholder, and we pop a 0 as the placeholder. Okay, you don't have to. You can either imagine it as a 0 or you can pop the 0 in. A lot of children find it easier to put the 0 in. I do, so I always put it in. Now, because the decimals are lined up, that decimal shouldn't move. It should stay exactly where it is. So if you want to, you can pop your decimal underneath because the answer will have the decimal in the same place. Okay, then we can work out our calculation. So let's just quickly go through exactly what we're adding here. So we've got our thousands, our hundreds, our tens, our ones, and then we've got tenths and hundredths. Noticing the difference between tens and tenths, okay, and hundredths. So that means that this one here is 9/10, add 3/10, okay? And then we've got 0 hundredths, add 6 hundredths. That's basically what that is. That just helps you a little bit with the knowledge of the numbers and the place value of them. Okay, so 0 add 6 is 6. 9 add 3, we do exactly the same. So we have to carry the digits over. 4 add 1 is 5. 2 add 2 is 4. 7 add 5 is 12, so carry that over again. And then 8 add 7 is, we add the 1, sorry, is 16. Okay, so the answer to that question is 16,245.26. Okay, right. Now let's have a go at question number 2, which is very similar, but this one is subtraction. So we have 5,439.72, take away 2,370.4. Okay, and we're going to set it up again with the biggest number on the top. Okay, pop your decimal in and make sure that you're lining it up correctly. Some people like to write their numbers backwards from the decimal, just to make sure that they're lining it up properly, and that's okay as well. Again, this one is empty, so we can pop a placeholder in there, which will be the 0. Okay, and we can put our decimal down here ready. This time we're doing subtraction. So 2 take away 0 is 2. 7 take away 4 is 3. 9 take away 0 is 9. 3 take away 7 we can't do. So again, we have to steal. 13 take away 7 is 6. 3 take away 3 is 0. 5 take away 2 is 3. So the answer is 3,069.32. Or if it was in pounds, £3,069.32p. Okay? Right. So that's our addition and subtraction. Now let's have a go at multiplication and division. Again, it works exactly the same, it's just got a decimal in there. So number 3 is 8.88 times 19. Okay? Also for this one, we really need to know our 8 times tables. Okay? So we've set it out exactly the same. Now with this one, guys, you have a choice. You can either work it out without the decimal and then make sure you put the decimal back in the same place. Okay? So for example, if you were doing this sum, you could do 888 times 19 and then just make sure that you put the decimal back in afterwards. Okay? But it'd just be making sure that you put it in the right place. Because we're multiplying by a 2-digit number, we need to do our road and our footpath, which I showed you in the previous video. You can, if you want, put your dotted line in, okay? Now, the decimal will go in the same place. So again, just before I start my calculation, I like to put my decimals in so that I know exactly where they're going and that I don't forget them at the end, because that decimal is vital to making sure that the answer's correct. Okay, so we also need to make sure that we add that 0, okay, for this number here, because it is a tenth. So we need to make sure that we add the 0. Okay, so 9 times 8 is 72. 8 times 9 is 72. Add the 7 is 79. Nine times 8 again is 72. Add the 7, 79. Okay, that was quite easy, doing the same sum. Same again. 1 times 8 is 8, 8, 8, and then we can add them together. So 2 add 0 is 2, 9 add 8 is 17, add the 1 is 18, and then 7 add 8 is 15, add the 1 is 16. So the answer to that would be 168.72. Okay? Making sure again that you've got the decimals in the right place. Now, if you were to work out 888 times 19, you would actually get 16,872, and then you would just have to make sure that you put the decimal back in the right place. But that's where sometimes people can go wrong, so it's just making sure that you put it in the right place. Now, what would happen here is if you were to take that decimal out, the answer would then have to be divided by 100, because it would be 2 spaces in where the decimal was previously. That's the only way that you would be able to remember it. So I would recommend that you work it out with the decimal in so that you have it in your answer when you calculate it and you don't forget about it at the end. Okay? Right, let's have a go at the division. So we've got 42.84 divided by 6. So for this one, we're going to have to know our 6 times tables. And the method that we would use for this would still be exactly the same. It would be bus stop method, okay? And for this one, we need to use our 6 times tables. So 42.84. Again, I would put your point in so that it's already there, and then you know it's going to go here in your answer. So again, I'll put the decimal in there now. Okay, so 6's into 4 you can't do. We'll carry that over. 6's into 42 are 7. Okay, and then we've got 6's into 8 is 1 with 2 left over. 6's into 24 go 4. So the answer is 7.14. So it's exactly the same as what we would usually do with a normal calculation, but having your decimal in there from the beginning. Okay? Okay, so let's have a look what we've got next. So what about these then? These are a little bit trickier. Okay? They might not look trickier. You might think, oh, they're smaller numbers. However, this one doesn't have a decimal. So, again, the best way to think about these is as money. So, let me just pop this to one side. Okay. So, at number 1 was 14, take away 3.46. Okay? So, £14. Think about £14. If you were to see that on a till, it would show it you as a decimal, okay? So £14 would be 14.00, okay? And now that makes it much easier to set this out as well. So again, pop your decimal in and work around the decimal. Pop your symbol in. And your decimal again will go in the same place. Okay, so this is a perfect example of taking away from 0, especially when the neighbour is 0 too. So 0 take away 6 you can't do. So I'll go next door, there's nothing to steal from there. So we then go here and we have to take one from them. Okay, we go back next door, we give them 1, but then we need 1 to take, so we turn that into a 9 and add the 10 here. Okay, so 10 take away 6 is 4, 9 take away 4 is 5, 3 take away 3 is 0, and 1 take away 0 is 1. So the answer here is 10.54. Okay, and anybody that would have known their number bonds would have known that the point would have been 54 because 0.46 add 0.54 is going to equal 1. Okay, so that one, some of you may have been able to do that part in your head. Some of you may have been able to do the whole sum in your head. But again, just doing some working out to check it is really important. Okay, so let's have a go at the next one. So this one is addition. So again, 173, adding the 2 zeros on the end always helps. You can add more zeros if there was 3 decimal places. You can add another one if you need to, but just start with the 2, and then you can figure it out from there. So again, most of us are aware that this is going to end with 0.79, okay? Some of you again might be able to do that in your head. Popping the decimal down here. Okay, 201.79 would be the answer to that one. Okay, the addition one's a lot easier than the takeaway. The takeaway, you've got to really think about the stealing process and how to go from one to the other if you need to. Okay, so our next calculations were 0.8 times 7 and 0.81 divided by 9. Now, if you actually look at these numbers, if I cover that up, you know what 8 times 7 is, okay, which is 56. But obviously with that 8, we've divided it by 10, okay? So you do 56 divided by 10, which would be 5.6, okay? And then here, exactly the same. 81 divided by 9 is 9. Okay, 9 squared is 81. But then we've divided this one by 100. Okay, so then we have to divide this number by 100, which would be 0.09. Okay, so that's just about you knowing your times tables and dividing and timesing by 10, 100 and 1,000. Okay, so I now want you to have a go at these. Okay, so number 1, there's quite a few sums to do there, there's 6. Number 2, you've got 2 word problems to do there based on this little table, giving you some information. And then number 3, these are a little bit trickier, where we have to use the inverse. So have a go at A and B as well, and see how you get on. You can pause the video now, and then we'll go through some of the answers in a moment. Okay, so number 1, you had to do 1 take away 0.6. So again, if you know your number bonds, you could work that one out in your head. So the answer to 1A was 0.4. Okay. In fact, if I pop these on here, I can do it, I can move it up at a time. Okay, and then B, we've got 0.7 times 20. I'll do it this way, that's easier. Okay, 0.7 times 20, you've got 14. So 7 times 2 was 14. That would have been 140, but then you've got to divide that by 10 again to get the answer, because this one was a decimal. Okay, C, adding these two together. That one was quite simple. Again, some of you will have been able to do that in your head. D, again, some of you might have been able to do that in your head, but working it out just to make sure, because you've got 1 decimal place here and 2 decimal places, the answer was 1.01. E, so 99 divided by 9, we know is 11. Divide that answer by 100, and you would have got 0.11. F, again, take away all this time. You got 3 decimal places here and 1 decimal place here. The answer was 4.261. Okay, so number 2, you had to do the difference between Mount Fuji and Mount Haku. Okay, and the answer was 1.076 kilometres. You had 3 decimal places and 1 decimal place. B, half of the height of Mount Tate is 3.02 divided by 2. So you are halving that number to get 1.51. Halving, whenever we halve, we divide by 2. Okay, and then the last 2, you had to work out the missing numbers. So here, 8 add 3 was 11 here. So 5 add 2. Add the 1 is 8, 3 add 4 is 7, 5 add 4 is 9. B, you had 5, take away 2 is 3, 8 take away 3 is 5, 8 take... So here, for example, because the 3 was missing, you would have had to have done 8 take away 5 to get that answer. 8 take away 7 is 1, 7 take away 1 is 6, 8 take away 1 is 7. Okay, and then that would have given you 76.153 as the answer. So, think about your answers. How did you get on? Do you need to go back to any? If there's any that you struggled with, go back to the video where I've explained how to work it out and maybe do a couple more examples. But yeah, well done, guys.